For the first 30 years of my life, I really didn't question anything. I was on the mainstream conveyor belt of school, university, career. I thought everything was going really well. Had a great partner, a great flat in Bristol, a career where I was progressing really quickly up the career ladder. And then one day found myself a bit poorly, and then a bit more poorly, and then bedridden. And it turned out that I had chronic fatigue syndrome. And really my life was brought to a complete halt. And thank goodness it was, because in that time it was like the first time I ever really had where I stopped being busy, I stopped being work crazy, work focused. I had to, there was no choice. And in the reflection time that I had, I found myself questioning everything. And the more I questioned, the more I realised that so much of mainstream culture is just utter crap, it's utter absurdity. And it started off just simply by me asking myself, why had I put my health behind my career? Why was my career so important that I would actually jeopardise my own health time and time again by working ridiculous hours, by pushing myself. I never focused any effort or gave any thought to my eating or my sleep. It was all secondary to push in my career. And having had the opportunity to stop and think, I realised that what the hell is the point of a career anyway? Why are we all working so hard? None of us are spending time with our families. None of us are doing the things that we really love to do. So many of us are stuck in jobs that we don't even like. You know, we're meant to be the most intelligent species, and yet we do more work. We spend more time doing things that we don't want to do than any other species. We go to work in order to pay for things that somebody else tells us that we need. And you know, it's not our parents' fault, but our parents are in that mainstream culture and brought us up with an idea of what is important in life. It's important to do well at school, it's important to be polite, it's important to be obedient, it's important to strive for success. It's a good idea to get a house, it's a good idea to have a nice car, it's a good idea to have security and all these other things. And I'm sure when you get to your deathbed, if you stay just continuing down that line, you'd sort of think, actually, what was the meaning in all of that? And I know there's loads of us who are sort of at 30s and 40s and 50s just stop and think, there's something missing here, there's just something not right. And that's why I become so passionate about questioning the norm. And it's not just the surface. I mean, a lot of us, I think, are aware of the fact that money doesn't buy us happiness, that, you know, careers and homes, and they're not the most important things. We kind of know it, but we're not living like that. We're not actually living in a way that's consistent with the view that there's more to life than money. And it's our conditioning. We were conditioned from so young that this is the path that you should take. When are we ever told as children how important it is to listen to your heart and follow that? No, what we're actually taught is listen to the teachers, listen to your parents because they know best. That's what we're taught. We're not taught to question, we're not taught to think for ourselves. And so we just end up following a path that is not our own. We're living a life that is not our own. And what's even more damaging is that we are told constantly as children, you should be this, you should be that, be obedient, be polite, be quiet. All these things actually suppress our true nature. So we're taught right from an early age that who we are naturally is not good enough. We need to be someone else. And so this mask develops. We start acting in a way that isn't our true self. We're suppressing our own voice. you know, we're not speaking unless we're spoken to, and we're polite with our elders because, you know, and quiet because that's what we should be. And we're not taught that actually it's good to speak your mind, it's good to speak your truth, it's good to be you, that you're valuable as you are. And then there's even more, another subsection of us who are sort of received this message during childhood that we're only good enough if we behave a certain way. So in my childhood, my mum, I definitely noticed how she rewarded me for a certain subset of the things that I did. So I was rewarded for helping her in anything with the kitchen, for cleaning, for tidying, for doing my homework, for doing well at school. But the things that I loved to do, like acting out musicals and singing and dancing, they were just, I didn't get anything. There was no feedback there. And because my mum was so important to me, because my dad was physically violent when we were growing up, my mum was so important. She was such an important nurturing figure for me that I was literally hanging on every word. So when she was rewarding me and praising me and showing me love for these things that reflected hard work and busyness, that's what I decided I needed to be valuable, to be loved, to be worthy. And there's people everywhere now still doing this with their children. There's so much emphasis on children around hard work. There's so much pressure, more and more and more, put on young children. And they think that's what life's about, and they end up pushing themselves and eventually being in a similar situation to me, where you've pushed yourself to such an extent that you end up becoming ill through stress and so on because of it. So I started questioning all the main norms, like, you know, what really is the point of a career? Why are we all working so hard? I mean, for someone that was on the sort of salary that I was on, I could have worked 1 or 2 days a week, and if I'd lived a simpler lifestyle, that would have been ample income. But why aren't more people doing that? Why are people not putting their health before their career? And why are we also driven towards what we perceive to be success? Because the message is that that's what makes you happy. That's what that's what you should aspire to. You should aspire to success, which means money, house, car, and these kind of quite normal things to question, I suppose, initially. And then as time went on, I started questioning more and more and more things, and realising that actually there's so much more about our mainstream culture and the messages that we're given that is utter rubbish. There's so many ways in which the norm is detrimental to our happiness and to our health and to our well-being. Again, we're not encouraged to relax. Busyness is where it's at. What? Why is business where it's at? Surely it's better to find a way to do sweet FA all the time and be happy than it is to strive to be busy. It's an absolute nonsense, but of course it does serve someone. It serves someone right at the top who's making all the money and sitting on their arse doing nothing. But it doesn't serve us. And then after some time, deciding that that's it, I'm going to be myself from now on, that's going to be my focus, I'm going to follow my heart, live life my own way, I met a lovely guy who I ended up marrying, and we've had a boy who's now 2.5 as I'm doing this video. And I noticed that as soon as I got pregnant, I started questioning even more, because suddenly everything became even more important. It became so important to me to get things right for him, for me to make sure that in every way I could, he focuses his life on what makes him happy, and not what anyone else thinks, but what makes him happy, and that he learns to question everything and to make his own decisions and his own truth. And in this questioning, I discovered so many things that, again, most of us just aren't aware of, which I just feel like I need to share. things like some of the negative impact that scans can have, pregnancy scans, antenatal scans, and the dreaded vaccination debate, and all sorts of other things. Questioning the value of education. Just, what is education? What is the best way to ensure that my son follows his heart and has a way of generating income which he really, really thrives in and enjoys, no matter what the salary, finding a way that works for him. And so that's really, what it's about. And I suppose as well, since becoming a mum, other things have become more important to me. I mean, I've always been interested in the environment. I've always cared about animals, but it's almost like I want the best future for him that I can possibly give. And so, I started becoming more interested in environment, much more interested in health, and the importance of eating as well. Eating healthily and naturally, unprocessed foods. And just each day I become more and more aware of different aspects of our culture which have a negative impact, and I just want to share that. I just want to share the ways that I've become aware of that we're living our lives which are to our detriment, because I hate to see people suffering. When I think back 10 years ago, it was 10 years ago that I got ill and started questioning everything, and I was unhappy, didn't realise it, but I was stressed, exhausted, being fake in relationships, and all of those things, I believe, stem from the messages that we were taught as we were growing up and the conditioning we've had. And I want to make sure that our children don't have to suffer the same. They don't receive that conditioning, that we give them a different message, that be yourself, be independent, find your own truth. I'm not saying that there aren't any things, where we should say to a child, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do. Obviously, we need to teach them that hitting other children, for example, which is a natural thing that children do because they don't know any other better way to deal with their emotions in the moment. I'm not saying there aren't anything. There isn't. We should just let children behave in any way whatsoever without guiding them at all. But what I am saying is that we need to understand the full detriment that these messages has had on our own lives and will have on our children's lives if we continue with these mainstream ideas of the most important thing is to be busy, to have money, to work hard, to do well at school. Those messages lead to people not being themselves, not doing what they want to do, feeling that they have to be someone else to be good enough. I've worked with so many people. I've been working as a coach now since 2009. And I work with so many lovely people, and the thing that I notice in common is exactly the same as the situation I was in, that on the outside we're projecting this image of being really together and happy and content and confident, and underneath we're still like children, because we just want this, we just need this constant validation from other people, because that's what we've been brought up to believe that we need, and we don't need it. We need to realise that we're good enough just as we are, that to be the most valuable person that we can be in the world, we need to express ourselves, because there's only one thing that we have that no one else has, and that's ourselves, our truth. If we interact with people as somebody else wearing a mask, we're not giving them the opportunity to love us for who we truly are. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to know what it feels like to be loved for who we truly are, and we're not giving them the permission to be themselves either. So I just feel that it's unbelievably important to question the mainstream, to question what we've been taught, and find our own truth and live life our own way, because I honestly believe through my own experience that that's the only way to be happy. I feel freer now, I feel happier now, and so many issues that I had, I've overcome simply from following my own heart. And I just think how amazing it would be to get a whole load of people together and just make a commitment to being ourselves and following our hearts, and allowing our children to do the same, to find ways together of helping our children to become who they really are and pursue their dreams, not pursue someone else's idea of what happiness is or someone else's idea of what success is. So there's obviously more to me than just that, but that's the crux of what's behind my website. And you know, obviously the driving force really for me having the guts to finally do it is my son, because I just feel like it's important that with this, he's the next generation, and other children his age and all other children are our future, and that we need to change something, because until we can be ourselves and speak from our hearts to other people, there's still going to be so much unhappiness in the world. And there is. If you look around in this culture, I mean, I've travelled a lot and I've seen other cultures, and they're happier. Cultures living a more simple life, they're happier. And in our culture, I honestly believe the reason that so many of us are unhappy, so many of us feel like something's missing, is because we're not being ourselves. We don't feel like we're good enough, and we are. And so I really hope that you find some of the videos that I do on the site and some of the things that I offer helpful. And if I get to work with you either in a group or at a workshop or through coaching one-to-one with me, then I very much look forward to that. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.